Well, joining me now is Dr. Awol Allo, a lecturer at Keele University and a specialist on the Horn of Africa, joining us live from the UK. Thanks so much for speaking to us. So Paul Kagame now hands the baton to Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and Kagame is saying the rights and interests of Africans need to be guaranteed. Is he talking about those millions of internally displaced people on the continent right now?
I think it's absolutely important that the current summit was dedicated to the cause of refugees and internally displaced people, because this is clearly one of the grand challenges facing the continent. Is Kagame specifically talking about refugees? I think refugees and internally displaced people could be one of those people that he is referring to, but the continent is facing a much broader problem that is not merely restricted to refugees, but certainly refugee problems, one of the key areas of concern for the continent.
Dr. Awol, I'll ask you something. I don't mean to sound cynical here, but I mean, tell me your honest opinion. Are these the leaders that can best address those most pressing issues? Because some argue all too often those are the ones at the table are actually the cause of those same pressing issues.
Absolutely, and I think that is one of the problems in the continent. The refugees that live on the continent, 26% of the world's refugee population lives there, about 20 million people, including internally displaced people. These are crises that are mainly generated by the actions or inactions of the leaders themselves. So essentially what you have is leaders who are the cause of these problems, trying to address the problem at an event such as this. So there is definitely a limit in terms of how much you can actually deal with this problem, while the source of the problems are the very people who are congregating in Addis to address this problem.
Right. So how does it work? I mean, how can this conference actually prove to be effective in the interests of those millions of Africans that need the most attention right now?
One of, I think, the central problem of international institutions such as these, institutions that are created by the state, is that in most cases, the way in which it seeks to address problems is within the confines of the interest of the states themselves. So the very states who are responsible for some of the problem that this institution try to address. So institutions, including the United Nations, by the way, face significant hurdles whenever they deal with questions of human rights, democracy, and problems that are associated with the lack of protection of human rights and democracy. I think, you know, the problem of refugees and internally displaced people is clearly one of the outcomes of lack of democratization and human rights. You do have instances where refugee problems and internal displacement can be caused by natural disasters, but again, I think one way or another, it is linked to the actions or inactions of these leaders. So this is a problem, but I think even if we have those problems, insofar as we have people who are displaced from their homes, sometimes forced to cross borders, it is important that we have rules and policies in place to deal with those urgent problems, while the more fundamental structural problems could be solved through other mechanisms.
Okay. Awol Allo, thanks for joining us there from Keele University. Thank you so much for that.